So good morning and welcome to today's webinar, everyone. My name is Sophia. I organize Spectrum learning events to build and bring the community together through learning at Spectrum. For those of you who are new to Spectrum, we are located at Duo Tower. Aside from providing event spaces, we offer curated workspaces for the community experience and the connections to expand businesses. So for today's webinar, we're going to talk about fintech for the unbanked, Indonesia's largest opportunity. And the speaker that we have for today is Sara Dhewanto, founder and MD, Managing Director of duithape. So duithape is a fintech company focusing on e-payments for the unbanked. And they have won first prize at the APAC Global Innovation through Science and Technology competition in 2019. They have won the C Stars Best Startup in Indonesia and Regional 2020, and recently won the Suncorp Global Awards in Financial Inclusion at the Suncorp Global Summit 2020. So theme Entrepreneurial Renaissance, the award recognizes entrepreneurs who transform unprecedented challenges into a new playing field. So they turn a new paradigm that balances profits with collective social good. So Sara herself, she has worked as finance director at Millennium Challenge Account Indonesia, where she was responsible for managing $600 million grant from the US government to reduce poverty in Indonesia. So she has a 10-year career with ExxonMobil and started her career at Booz Allen and Hamilton. So she was the top of her MBA class in State University of New York and at the Faculty of Economics, University of Indonesia. And she has also received a fellowship from MIT. So such a long list of credentials. Here she is today with us. We're very excited to have her to speak at today's webinar. But before you start, Sara, so audience, if you have any questions, please post them onto the platform here. So without further ado, Sara, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Really appreciate the opportunity and also the kind introduction. And I want to say good morning and hi to everybody here. It's an honor and it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you so much. If you don't mind, I will start sharing my screen. So here, and okay. Can everybody see it? Hopefully it goes well. Okay, and go to slideshow. Okay, okay, so I'm going to be showing this video. If you can see, wait. Yeah, for some reason it's going into, it's always, this was working just fine before. So anyway, I'll try that. So this is a video when we won Suncorp Global Awards in Financial Inclusion. This was the video that they made for us, and I think it gives kind of like a good, let's say, kind of like a good description of what we do. So if you don't mind, I will show this video. Okay. So thank you for that, for watching that, and hopefully it gives a little bit of a better idea of who we are and what we do. So I'm going to switch to the presentation. And so can everybody see the presentation okay? Okay, so that was kind of like who we are, what and what we do. And our company's name is duithape, which literally means mobile money, actually. And what we do is we do e-payment for the unbanked. And why is that even important in Indonesia is because over 50% of Indonesians actually don't have bank accounts. So this makes payments, and especially mass payments, extremely difficult because all payments must be made physically in person. And I faced that problem myself when I founded duithape. So I manage a $600 million fund from the US government to reduce poverty in Indonesia. And even though we had the Indonesian government, the US government, we had $600 million, and our bank was the bank with the largest network in Indonesia, I couldn't believe that the only way, we tried everything failed. And the only way to get the money across was for my team to actually carry it in sacks and carry money in sacks across the country and give it one by one. And I thought that was just insane. And it was, if somebody like us with our resources could not do it, that means like nobody can do it. This system just didn't exist. So I decided to resign from my position, and I founded duithape to create a solution for this problem. So we created duithape, which is an e-payment that is designed to meet the needs of the unbanked poor. So we only use a face, they put in their PIN, and they shop. Very easy. There's no card, no phone, or no bank required. And this is another video that will show kind of like how it works. Face, PIN, shop. No card, no smartphone, no bank. So this gentleman here, he's a recipient. He wants to redeem his food voucher at this food vendor. So the food vendor, the food merchant, scans the user's face. The system verifies the user's identity. Yeah, she says, yes, exactly, this is the same person, it's correct. And he then enters his PIN onto the merchant's phone. He selects his e-voucher to be redeemed, and that's it. That's transaction is complete. So that is what we do, and these are our recipients. And so that is how we do it. And our business model is B2B2C aid distribution. At least that's our first vertical. So what happens is that we would work with large institutions as clients, and those clients would then provide us with a list of recipients. We would then create an account for each and every single recipient and distribute e-vouchers to them. And the recipients would then redeem these e-vouchers at our duithape agent stores, which are these small mom and pop shops. And then the duithape agents would then sell the goods that is the aid, and they would receive immediate digital payment via duithape. And for us, this is also a source of revenue because we get a distribution fee from the client as well as a merchant discount rate from our agents. And our clients are huge organizations. We work with the government. We also work with charity organizations like World Vision, Dompet Duafa, which is the largest Muslim charity organization in Indonesia, Nadatul Ulama, which is the largest Muslim organization in Indonesia, which has about 90 million members. It's crazy big. We also work with multinational companies and other multinational organizations like here. And we even had MasterCard and HSBC as client, as we know that MasterCard is one of the largest payment companies in the world, but in order to reach the unbanked, they needed us to do it. So yeah. And with this business model, we grew exponentially during the pandemic. We grew 50 times between the third quarter and the first quarter. Our gross transaction value increased by 50 times. And I have to say it's like 50%, it's not 50%, it's 50 times, because people give and say, oh, it's 50%. Like, no, 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 it's 50 times. So we targeted to reach $2 million this year, and we surpassed that in September already. And not only that, but we also created social impact. So this was October's number, is we distributed 880,000 US dollars. Now it's already close to $1 million. We have affected over 68,000 people. In October now it's almost 100,000 people. And also not only that, but we boost the economy, and that's extremely important during COVID, because a lot of businesses have gone down, but we have invigorated these small mom and pop shops and doubled and tripled their sales that we created in total with the aid and the impact that we create on the small mom and pop shops. We boosted the economy by creating $1.7 million of economic impact this year. Okay, and we also, with the client, we provide them with high accountability live data reporting. And this is already at a level that is very clear. We have very granular data. What you're seeing here is more kind of like the highlights of it. We can know who bought what, when, where, and including like what was bought by this. So they would have, the beneficiaries would have the freedom to choose within a whitelisted group of items. This one on the right was actually this is real data of one of our earlier projects where we did flood survivors aid. And so we gave them the freedom to choose whatever they need. So I think they received about, I believe it was about $70 approximately, $70 or $80. And they can choose whatever they want as long as it's either food or household items, household appliances and household supplies, or school supplies. And then so being in Indonesia, it was not a surprise that 23% of people bought rice with it. But the data that we gathered was very surprising on the second item, which was blender. And we're like, huh, blender? And number 4 was like trays and bowls. But then after we thought about it, okay, because that is what they need, because they are a lot of them are informal workers. So a lot of them actually sell food, and they would sell juice, or they would sell something. And in Indonesia, people always have sambal, right? There's the chili, and then you can actually do it with like a pesto and mortar, or what we call an ulakan. But to do that professionally, to do that commercially, it's very difficult and it's very time consuming. So people use blenders. And that's why after the flood happened, the first thing they need to eat, they bought rice. And the second thing was that they bought the blenders because this was their way to gain back their livelihood. Because so they would be able to open their shops. They could, if they sold food, probably they had like a stove, but the stove, even after it's flooded, you can kind of like dry it and it still works. But the blenders that they have, they don't work anymore. And that's why it turns out that blender was the second most needed item. And I just found that fascinating, because we're giving exactly what they need, which is not possible if you're distributing if you're distributing the goods, nobody's going to go around giving blenders and you don't know who needs it. So this was very interesting. And so with the trays and bowls, it's the same thing, because they were swept away by the flood because they're very, very light. And so they needed to buy new ones. But it gives a really good insight on what people actually need. And so we are, duithape is social for profit. And actually social issues, it's a big problem that's shared by many. And so it provides actually a huge opportunity for innovation and gaining scale. But there's this dichotomy sometimes where people say, oh, for-profit is evil, non-profit is good. It's like, no, coming from the background of, I spent 10 years at ExxonMobil, which was at that time the most profitable company in the world, and I don't know for how many years. And then there is, and then after that, I worked for a nonprofit, because after spending 10 years at ExxonMobil, I decided, like, no, I want to make a difference and I want to do something for my country. So I resigned from ExxonMobil to go to a nonprofit. But because of that, I went from two extremes. I can see that there's merit in both. And I see that there is no relationship between for-profit, non-profit, or being good and evil. You can make a profit doing good. It is the intentions that show that of the organization that kind of makes it either a good company or a bad company, or a good for-profit and good or a bad nonprofit. And profit is just a way of how you sustain yourself. So if it is a nonprofit, then you would survive by grants. But what I saw in the nonprofit world was that as soon as the grant evaporates, as soon as there's no more grant, there's no more good work to be done because there's no funds to do it. Profit is something that can make it, that is ensures that you can continue to do good work sustainably, and by paying for it yourself through the value that you create. And there's nothing wrong with profit, because as long as the value that you provide is more than what cost we charge, and that we create a benefit for all stakeholders, it's not only fine, it's necessary. And so that is what we focus on how we would be able to do this. Because I had actually very, very recent, last week, a question from from one of the investors that we're talking with, a potential investor. And he says, how can you, what do you say to people who says that, oh, you are a company who is profiting over people's goodwill? And it's like, well, no. The source of our profit is from the inefficiencies in the previous system. So we focus on looking for business models that actually create win-win-win-win. Everybody wins within this model, and that's how we get it to work. So for example, the clients, they have an easy, efficient, safe, traceable, accountable way to distribute aid, which before, and with very, very clear accountability and data that they never had before at that level. And it's also a lot safer. It's attached to a person's face. It's not like a paper voucher that can be faked. And what we found out is that, like, in one of our clients, actually one of our main clients, they actually already created a whole system to do this. They ditched the system. After investing so much money in it, they actually ditched the system because they found out that not only it was a lot cheaper to use us, that what we did was a lot better and gave much more value than even had their system completely worked. And through the savings that they made, by working with us, they actually distributed to 35% more beneficiaries. So more people actually got to enjoy the aid rather than less. For us, it's a low-cost acquisition, and we gain transaction fees that are from our clients and our agents, and it's our bread and butter. The recipients, oh, they love it because in Indonesia, it's only two possibilities that you would actually have aid distribution, and so it would actually be like the first picture where we saw like a mob of people. That was actually an aid distribution that was done, I think, in South Sulawesi. So people would be crammed trying to get to be one of the first who can get a finite number of aid that's being distributed up front. So there's either a bag of rice or something, and they would actually risk their lives to get that bag of rice. And unfortunately, in many cases, people actually lose their lives in trying to get that bag of rice, which is just, it's unacceptable. Or there is a line, there's a system, but then they would have to wait like an entire day, and sometimes 2 days, to get to their turn of getting whatever it is that they want to get. So, but now it's as easy as just like shopping to their nearby store. And actually, the stores that we onboard as our agents are the stores that they would usually go to. And then so it would be as simple as going to their neighborhood store, show their face, put in their PIN, and shop. That's it. There's no line, there's no mobs, and as I mentioned before, they have complete freedom to choose what they want as long as it's within the corridor of what is allowed. So they can choose a blender because that's what they needed. And then the other thing is also with the agents, these small mom and pop shops, they're very, very, very difficult to work with, to get into, to use digital. But no, it turns out that after this, they love, love, love us. And the reason is because we significantly increased their sales. So especially like during COVID, their sales went down like 30 to 90%. From whatever small amount they had, they lost 30 to 90% of it. And it's really sad, but some of it because of the pandemic itself, but then actually some of it is also because the government aid that's being distributed. So there's rice and there's oil and sugar, for example. And because a lot of people actually get it for free from the government, what do? They stop shopping at the stores. So these stores are suffering because they lost a lot of income. But after working with us, they doubled and tripled their sales. And yeah, I mean, it was really, it went even beyond their pre-COVID sales level. And in addition to that, they also gain a financial history, which would, at the end, enable them to potentially get some kind of formal loan or something that because right now they have absolutely no credit history, they have no financial history, there's absolutely no data on the Unbanked. So how do we do that? That it's a tough cookie to crack, but the reason that we're able to do that is because we use the technology as a vehicle, and we adapt and adjust to who we are serving. So all of our competitors, yes, of course, there's a lot of competitors that there's OVO, there's GoPay, there's Dana, there's Linkaja, there's Genius, there's True Money, BT Manual, but they still would require some form of phone or smartphone. For us, we actually, why we're named duithape is actually we still required kind of like a phone, a smartphone or a normal phone. But then as we went in and we looked at the bottom of the pyramid to the people that we're actually trying to serve, a lot of them just don't have phones, or they can't use phones. They're too old, or they're too young. And so we said, okay, let's have it down to an ID. And then it's like, okay, let's require just the national ID. And it turns out not everybody has a national ID. It's like, okay, then okay, what does everyone definitely have? It's like, okay, everybody's got to have a face. And so that's how we created the innovation with our Setor Muka, or it actually means like giving your face, providing your face. And so with that, it's like, okay, we adjusted to something that everybody has. And we're creating this technology to serve even in the most dire of circumstances. Indonesia is on the ring of fire, and so we have our fair share of disasters. And so in the events of a volcano eruption, a tsunami or something, even if the people lost completely everything they had, and just imagine like a tsunami, sometimes they don't even have the clothes on their back, but they would still have their face, and it would still enable them to get what is due to them accountably. And so that's what we strive for. And a lot of, we're trying to make this military grade. So if it works in the most dire circumstances, it would work in normal circumstances. I mean, like a lot of inventions, whether that being the microwave or the Kevlar, it was actually intended for military purpose, but because it was used for military purpose, that means that just the normal wear and tear of normal use makes it easy. It's definitely usable. And so that's kind of what we strive for, to be able to serve anyone under any circumstance. And this is actually the people that we serve. So because it's designed to meet the needs of the bottom of the pyramid, these are actual faces of people that we serve, between 5 to 80-year-olds and even the disabled. So I mean, yeah, you can see like he's 5, she's 80, he actually has Down syndrome. And these are pictures, faces of actual beneficiaries that received aid through us. And we hope that we are able to extend this to even more people. But on the other side, we're saying, okay, we're doing all this good, and something that I often hear is like, oh yeah, you're social, that's good for you. And then the investors, they never look at us again, because there's this thing like, oh, okay, if you're social, you're not profitable. If you're profitable, if you want to go profitable, then you can't be social. But that's not true. We're talking about a huge chunk of the population. In Indonesia, it's over 130 million unbanked people, worth about $70 billion. That is a huge market by any standard. And are we all gonna just ignore this market? No, just because they're too difficult to serve or too expensive, we just gotta figure out how to do it. And that is what our journey is all about. We find out win-win-win-win solutions and business models that would enable us to not only sustain ourselves, but beyond that, becoming a big company and a profitable one. So yes, 130 million Indonesians, it's a huge opportunity. But yeah, it's serving the unbanked customers is the most difficult undertaking. Acquiring them is expensive when compared to the value they return in terms of service fees, interest rate, and assets under management. And serving them sustainably has proven difficult even for digital financial players. But we want to prove that untrue, that it is possible. We have now already low cost acquisition, and we're and a road to profitability. And this is not only possible, we are already proving it right now. And our growth strategy is that we talked about a lot about aid distribution, but that's actually just like our first vertical. For us, as I said, it's a low cost acquisition strategy, but then we already get transaction fees and MDRs, but it's very limited. And if we want to create impact for the larger community, for more people, and to be able to do this sustainably, that's why we're going to our second vertical. So we're going into commercial payments. For example, a company that's trying to pay their suppliers or payroll for their unbanked workers, or let's say a plantation that needs to pay smallholder farmers that they work with. Or if it's a micro lender or a bank that is, or a P2P lender or a bank that's trying to give micro loans, right now, everybody pays them in cash. Somebody actually goes around, usually in a motorcycle, with a bag full of money, either in giving them out. Or if it's collecting installments for microloans, somebody again goes around with a bag collecting payments in cash. That is what we want to change. All of these transactions that are already happening in cash, we want to digitize all that. Because if we did it with the aid distribution, we can do that for any kind of payment. And then so that's where we're going. And our third vertical is data, because right now there's absolutely no information on the unbanked. Nobody has info on them, not even like the biggest FMCGs. They know which store, or they know like at least which distributor or what goods were bought, but they have no clue by whom when it comes to the unbanked, because everything's paid in cash. So this could be used also for credit scoring for these unbanked, like low-level people that currently they don't even have access to getting a loan with a reasonable interest. But with gaining data on them, gaining a financial history, they are now able to go to a bank and potentially get a loan at a very good rate. And also for governments, that they could use this data for data-driven policy. For example, like the blender story, it's like, oh, okay, actually it's not what we have giving out. It's useful, but then it actually could be better. And especially if it right now, the thing with COVID, one of the main focuses is about boosting the economy. And this is a way that we be able to do this while getting data to ensure that whatever the government's, for the government could provide better service for their people. And with this, we hope that the trajectory is, we plan to multiply our growth every year. Well, probably not 50 times next year, but we're aiming for 8 times next year. And we aim to do it like another 8 times and then get 119 million. And we have a clear plan. We see that this is all possible. And so, and actually with this, with the growth and traction that we showed, we just had a fundraising round this year, and we've closed it because we were oversubscribed. We were targeting for 500,000. Now we have offers of over $1 million. But we're very happy with this because this means that we can do more and go faster, because we have the pipeline, and we do need the funds to be able to ensure that we can do all of the pipeline that we plan. And then we plan to raise another 3 million, probably in about 2021, but that's the plan for now. And most of it would be spent on IT development and IT, because that is kind of like our power as a fintech company, is the technology, but then also with sales, because then we need to connect with the people and we have to have a very good team. And so, and this is our team. I'm very fortunate that we have a very, very strong team. We're kind of old for a startup. Everybody has 20 years of experience, and it's a good combination. Me and my co-founder, our background is in finance, and my COO, he also had a long time in corporate, and he was actually the vice president of sales and marketing of ThyssenKrupp, which is a German company, and he was the VP for all Southeast Asia, where he actually doubled the sales of his company within. He doubled the sales of his company even with half of the staff. And then also after that, then he left to go back to Indonesia because he wanted to make a difference, and he founded a coding school for children. But then after that, he looked for a bigger cause, and he joined us. And also our CTO, he also has 20 years of experience, and he is a founder of several tech organizations as well. And so we have a very good team. But it's not all rosy. It is very, very difficult to found a startup. As Elon Musk said, is founding a startup is like eating glass while staring through the abyss, because it's so painful and you are always at potential demise of your company. But for us, I think our biggest accomplishment is that we're not dead. And almost, but not dying is a badge for honor of us. We ran out of cash 8 times. We had to have a complete IT team overhaul 6 times. We had to change and pivot our business like 3 times, and this is ongoing. But the reason how we were able to do it is because of the essence of duithape, that we are purpose driven, that and it's not just me, that it is the whole company, where we celebrate failure and we persevere. We collaborate and we grow together. And first and foremost is that we are solving a true need. And this is what keeps me and my staff going. And so even though through all of our difficulties, we are very certain that we'll be able to continue and do more good and impact more people. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
Thank you for that great sharing. So I think initially when I spoke to you as well, we'd love to hear from you as well on your personal journey. So on your journey from where you were and then to founding duithape. So would you like to share more with us on that?
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, I went from for corporate, wanted to do something more for my country. And then I went to nonprofit. And then after that, because of the problems I found in the nonprofit, I was able to find a huge problem that was worth solving. And that was duithape. But I couldn't have done it with my team. As I mentioned, this is really, really important that we're solving a true need, but the purpose that we had, it wasn't just me, it was the whole team, and that they embraced that. So I told, there's a story when in 2016 we almost died because I bootstrapped and I paid everything from my, I basically paid everything from my savings, and I didn't have any more. I knew that by January 2017, if we didn't get an investor, that we would actually lose. We don't have anything to pay our employees with. So I called them up and I called a meeting and said, okay, guys, please be prepared. If we don't find an investor by this time, by December, then in 2017 January we will have to disband. Everybody was kind of shocked from them, but then actually the next day they called me for a meeting and they said, okay, don't close the company. And I said, well, I don't want to close the company, but I only have 1 month left of runway, and I want to make sure that all of you have something to eat and that I can pay you. And he said, no, don't worry. Just pay us like about $100, $200 just so we can have something to eat. And I was like, how are you going to pay? And like the one was saying it had like 5 kids. And it's like, I don't want to be responsible to your children of your children starving. And then he said, oh, no, it's okay. I had this this t-shirt printing business that I always had before. I closed it when I joined duithape, but I can easily open it again. And so that'll be my extra income. So it's okay, don't worry. And then another one said, oh yeah, my wife works full time. It's fine. We're good. We're all covered. And then another one said, oh, actually I did apply for a job and I did get one. It's like, oh, okay, thank goodness. That's good for you. No, but it's okay. Just send me all your stuff in the afternoon. I will do it. And then I'll send it back to you. And it's like, but we can't pay you. And it's like, oh, no, it's fine. I'm already paid by the other company. And so it was like this team and that kind of self-sacrifice from them, because they really believed in the mission. It's like, we believe in what we're doing something good, and we have something good, let's go on. And it's, for me, it just like just tears down my face. But thankfully we got an investor that December, and then we've been going on. But then after that day, there were always struggles, and this is the first time that we actually have more money than we need, and it's a nice change. But without our incredible, amazing team, like no way we could do it. So it's not just me, it's a whole team effort, and all of our partners as well, who kind of, even they share the same dream with us, and so they're helping us. So it's great.
Yeah, that's great when you have, your heart in the right places. You've got the team who actually understand and believe the end goal. So you're helping a lot of the community, the people in the community who needs that help, and also they need that avenue. They need that the leverage to help them to get to what they need, what they want as well. So keep the questions coming through, audience. So thank you. The first question, I'll address this from Jin Fu. So Sarah, for the unbanked population you are serving, is mobile device ownership a challenge you have to overcome? If so, how are you enabling your customers to have suitable mobile devices to be able to use your platform or app?
The way we do it is we don't require it. They are only required to have a face, and they don't have to have an investment for that. So because we found that out, exactly what you said, we found that problem, so we eliminated the problem by not making it a requirement. So yeah, not necessary.
Okay, thanks. Jean, second question. What are some educational efforts your company might or is implementing to enable your new users to become aware of using your platform or your app and to use your system effectively? So in terms of education and awareness, help drive adoption of your service in the unbanked community.
Yeah, so we are a B2B2C company. So that's the approach that we use. And so we work together with organizations like, for example, World Vision, or Dompet Duafa, which is, or Nadatul Ulama. And these are organizations that already do charity work, and they're already on the ground. And then so they actually do all of the onboarding, they do the education. We would then train them to be our trainers. And then teach them, okay, these are things. And the other thing is we make it so easy that for them to be able to use it, we can easily teach them, and the recipient simply just has to give their face, and they know that, okay, you just go to the store with this sign and you can get what it is that you need. And so we try to make it as easy as possible, but it's crucial that we have these partners that work with us, and they educate together with us, and they do it actually on the ground, because right now we're servicing not just even in Jakarta and Java, so we do East Java, but then also to Bali and Lombok, and even in Central Sulawesi, like right smack in the middle of nowhere. Uh, and this is all during COVID, where we can't even travel. And then so we had people, but we had no problem to do it, because we had people on the ground that were actually already doing this, and we gave them a tool to make their jobs easier. And with the nice thing also with the pandemic is that it opens opportunities, like with the vendors and the merchants. The merchants, we also still do the training, but now we can do it via YouTube and via Zoom, where you would think like a small mom and pop shop in Central Sulawesi would never use Zoom. Now they're open to the idea of doing that, and so we actually do that. Everything digitally and online. And the nice thing, and this is how we were able to grow 50 times, is when we adjusted the technology to the situation. So not just to the people and the recipients, but now it's like, okay, with COVID, what do we do? So we change our technology to adopt with that. And what we found out is that it's a huge opportunity, because suddenly geography doesn't even matter. We can do it anywhere. We're doing it like from our office anyway. And so that's a wonderful thing. Could be anywhere without us even going there, and that is crazy good for scalability.
That's great, thank you. So I have questions as well. So practically, what were the initial challenges, or even now challenges that you face in terms of probably regulations, in terms of reaching out to some pockets, I believe, might not be reachable still? So how do you address those?
I think with regulations, we try to see what is the regulation, and we find a way of doing it within. That's one of the reasons why I use e-voucher, because after consulting with the central banks, like, okay, for e-vouchers, it's okay. But now that we actually have the funds to go for an e-money license, we are going for an e-money license. The only thing that's been stopping us from there is just lack of funding, which now is fortunately no longer a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and what was the second question?
So those there are pockets of those who might still be unreachable?
Mm-hmm. We do it based on needs right now, but we're going to be giving a more focused area per area. But like right now, actually, anywhere you have a need, we can service it, as long as there is a use case, as long as, like, so whomever, and you want to give it somewhere, as long as there's significant amount of people that we have, as long as we have a partner there, we're good to go. So, oh yeah, you do have to have internet. So as long as there's internet, we can do it. But we've also found areas where, like in the village, there's only one place for the internet, which is kind of like well, not town hall, but I guess the village hall. And the way we've done it, it's like, okay, since this is the only place in the whole village that has internet, we brought the merchants there. So they opened up for like a 2-3 day bazaar, and then had people come there, and it worked just fine, because now we also have internet in most of the villages. But yes, in some cases it's just one place, but well, we adjust. What can we do? If you can't bring the mountain, Muhammad, well, actually now we're actually bringing Muhammad to the mountain, because then the people can simply just go there and do it. But hopefully it's getting better and better, and hopefully that it's going to be easier in the future. Yeah.
Right, that's great. Right, so I echo Iwi's comment here to say that's a fantastic presentation. Thank you, Iwi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, the awards that you have received, So the Sangkap Awards for Financial Inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
which drives me to also ask you this next question. So that accolade, what does that mean for duithape, and what do you strive to do next for the community as well?
For us, it gives acknowledgement that we're not crazy. Because, like, when we did this, when we started this, people were looking at us. I was like, man, like, you've had governments and large banks with tons more money trying to do this, and they failed. And like, who do you think you are, thinking that you could solve this big problem? And for us, it was like, no, well, it's a problem that needs to be solved. So I don't have the right to complain about it if I'm not doing something about it. So it's like, okay, then, okay, we go ahead and solve it. And I say to my team, hey, you know what? If we fail doing this, we will be as good as the government and as these big banks. They've also failed. So it's like, it's okay. But we continuously try. What I was saying about celebrating failure and persevering, and I think that's the key. We know we're going to fail, but lucky if we fail this way, let's figure out, learn from it, understand what made us fail, tweak it, or completely do another pivot. We've pivoted like 3 times, and learn from that, change. Learn from that, change, and then try it again and try it again. And I think that's the key to solving any great problem, is that you need to celebrate failure and persevere and continue doing it.
And in terms of using the app, of course, the user experience, the the CX, it kicks in as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of innovation, what's the next step for innovation for the technology that you're looking at?
Well, okay, here is actually, MasterCard was one of our clients, and we say, hey, you know what, if MasterCard needs us to go to these people, then that is an untapped market that we would be able to tap into, and kind of even be a cardless MasterCard, just using your face, and be able to provide that. But at the end, is what we intend to make is for everybody in Indonesia, and potentially, I guess, the world, to have access to digital payment, whether it is to receive or whether it is to make payments. Because what happens is, if you have the possibility either to make or receive digital payment, that is a total game changer for that area. So, for example, whether you're a smallholder farmer somewhere, or if you are like this whiz kid, like a coder or programmer, but you're stuck in the middle. I mean, you were unfortunately born in a place where nobody needs your services because you're in a village somewhere. But even though they had like really good like produce or really good, crazy good programming skills, if they cannot receive payment for it, then they won't be able to make a living out of it. The farmer can only sell to whomever is within his village with probably a much lower price. And this programmer whiz kid, it's a hobby, and that's all it is, because they can never receive payment for it. So by opening this potential ability to receive and make digital payments, it changes people's lives, because suddenly now that whiz kid can have a client in the States and be able to receive digital payment, and it's fine. And that is the kind of opportunity and the way we envision people to be. It's like, it doesn't matter where you are. We're already kind of facing this right now with working from home, but it's still not possible if you don't have a means of getting paid. So we're unlocking the economy and we're leveling the playing field for everyone, regardless of where you live, regardless of your resources, that you would be able to benefit from economic growth through this.
It's great. Fintech is, of course, a growth sector in Indonesia. And do you foresee that it's going to be, the next projects, future projects that you're looking at is probably geographical and could be out of Indonesia as well?
Yeah, we are actually very, we're going to focus on Indonesia first. There's still 130 million people. And yes, we've grown, but we've serviced 100,000. That is nothing. But we have the means to go further. We will still focus on Indonesia just because the needs here are huge and we really know the market, but we're already looking into other geographies outside of Indonesia as well, but probably kind of like already in the next phase. And now we actually have an access to that, so I'm very happy.
It's amazing, brilliant. So Sara, any messages that you want to share with our audience before we wrap up for the day?
One is that social problems exist everywhere, and anybody has an opportunity to make the world better while creating profit. And it's not easy, yes. It's the blood, sweat, and tears, literally sometimes. But it's there for the taking. We focused on e-payments, but there are so many other areas that could also use help. And especially in a developing country like Indonesia, probably Singapore less so, but in Indonesia and other countries, there's so many. You have a pick of problems that you can solve, and that could be your $1 million business idea. And right now we're already a multi-million dollar, not only idea, we're already a multi-million dollar company, and that is something that I wish many more people would take on. And I'm very happy to see actually in Indonesia there's a thriving business and startups, and hopefully there will be more and more. So that's why find your problem and help solve it. You can also do something about it. Yeah.
It's really comforting to know that leveraging on technology, in this case fintech, to do economic and social good, combine together, married together to bring the good for the world and the country as well. So I'd like to thank you, Sara Dhewanto, and duithape. Thank you for joining us at this morning's webinar. And thank you, audience, for joining
the opportunity.
Thank you, the audience, for joining us today. And I'd like to invite you to join us next week for responsible investing in Vietnam with Dynam Capital. So do join us for next week's webinar at 9:30 a.m. Otherwise, I'll see you. If you need any connections to Sara, you can reach out through me, or Sara is also available on LinkedIn as well. So everyone stay safe and keep well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.